Hello everyone, the December review here, back again with a movie review. Today, we have the latest Steven Spielberg drama, The Fabelmans. Minor spoilers are ahead. Let's check it out. Mr. Spielberg has been on quite the directorial run recently. In the past 7 years, he's released 6 films, including his version of West Side Story, which came out last year, and the sci-fi adventure Ready Player One the year before that. His list of mega-hit blockbusters is endless and quite astonishing. Spielberg doesn't just make movies, he often creates iconic cultural and historical adaptations. From Jaws to E.T., Schindler's List and The Color Purple, Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park. Steven has helped shape the modern movie landscape not only in financial success, but in defining some of the most revered and successful movies ever put to tape. So how does one become such a success in their field? In his new movie, The Fabelmans, Steven sets his sights on himself in this loosely based tale about his upbringing and the sparks that align to kickstart the most successful directorial career we may have ever seen. Gabriel LaBelle stars as Sammy Fabelman, our stand-in for Spielberg. One night his parents, Mitzi and Bert, played by Michelle Williams and Paul Dano, take him out for his first movie theater experience to see the appropriately titled The Greatest Show on Earth. Amazed by the experience, Sammy soon gets his hands on his parents' 8mm camera and begins to film his own moments around the house. The camera never leaves his side as all the world's a stage, and as the years go by, he upgrades and experiments with many different techniques. His creations amaze everyone around, and it's clear his gift for his hobby is special. The Fabelmans eventually relocate, and real life begins to set in as the ever-changing landscape of the times and family discourse begin to drive everyone apart. The Fabelmans is an overall excellent film which shines more on great performances than it does audience connection, at least for me, which isn't to say it doesn't connect or just not hitting E.T. levels of emotion. With great power comes great expectations. One of the more tricky aspects of making a semi-autobiographical film is being able to hit certain needed situations while being in constant time movement. This can make its narrative feel more like a talking point than, say, a story. Thankfully, the film starts at the beginning of the journey and it ends just as Spielberg's fame was about to take off. This allows enough breathing room to focus on the learning curve that made up the foundation of his career. The central theme here is the acknowledgement of talent and where it goes. Mitzi is an accomplished pianist who seemingly could have carried out a successful musical path but chose not to. Bert has followed his calling as a scientist and engineer some rather influential tech concepts. Together they have created a well-off life, but for Mitzi, something is missing. It's an interesting vantage point to explore alongside the not-so-meager beginnings of life behind a camera for Sammy. On one side, he has the whims of his mother who abides by the thought of art and creativity as the guiding light. Follow your heart and you will be happy. On the other side is Bert, who sort of sees the camera as a fun activity but pushes for Sammy to line up in a more traditional path like his own. These two halves eventually collide, throwing Sammy into a tailspin, which alongside a rather difficult transition after moving to California, all have Sammy lined up for his future. The acting here is excellent. Paul Dano does some tremendous work as the smart and straightforward Bert. He doesn't quite fail to see how his drive to succeed in his craft can affect those around him, and he acknowledges his shortcomings. He's also loyal to every aspect around him, and eventually something gives. Paul hits the right balance between stern and caring. Michelle Williams does a rather remarkable job as Mitzi. The seemingly calming force in Sammy's world also becomes its biggest torment. Her charming aloofness is occasionally intercut with depression, and that escalating scale is perfectly presented. Seth Rogen is here as Benny, Bert's best friend and family counterpart. His presence is a lightning rod for the family. His everyman chagrin counterbalances the more problematic aspects of Bert's persona. Judd Hirsch stops by for a rather effective moment as Boris, Sammy's granduncle. His tough persona manages to instill some words of wisdom. And as Sammy, LaBelle holds steady with or without the lens. Most of the conflict happens around him, and his reactions are authentic. Overall, Fabelmans is a fantastic work of what I assume is mostly non-fiction about the early days of one of the most influential movie directors of our time, which happens to be directed by said director. It's a love letter to film and a character study in family dynamics. There's an interesting moment where a character who had done nothing but give Sammy trouble confronts him over his portrayal in a school film. The guy is amazed after all he's put him through why he would paint him in such a flattering light. Sammy simply says it's not him, it's the camera. It picks up what is there. It's an absorbing answer and one that probably holds the key to Spielberg's insight. It also might not be true. Editing is the other side of the coin. But either way, the movie is well worth the watch. It's currently available to stream on all the usual platforms. I give The Fabelmans 4 out of 5 stars.